Welcome back to the miraculous month of murder mysteries with the marvelous medical master George Litefoot and the mystical Mr. Henry Gordon Jago. This is the 26th episode of an Unearthly podcast streaming live on the 19th of July, 2017.
You mean the 216th.
Is that not what I said?
You said 26th.
Oh.
We've done slightly more.
It is the 216th, yes. Featuring Big Finish Companion Chronicles, The Mahogany Murderers, written by Andy Lane, and starring Christopher Benjamin as Henry Gordon Jago, the late Trevor Baxter as Professor George Litefoot, and introducing Lisa Bowerman as Miss Ellie Higson. I am Bill Sylvia, the Man in Black, and with me are Mad Matt Winchell.
I'm back onto Black Label.
Randy Ronson McCulloch.
Mahogany.
And Tim the Enchanter Sheridan.
Glorious salutations to everyone.
Romeo Moon will not be with us this evening. She's had some issues relating to a local storm and is just not feeling up to doing a podcast at the moment.
Yeah, it was.
She also has an early morning.
She kind of had to come home in the height of the storm.
Yeah.
And got home wet and cold and tired.
And thunder shocked probably too.
And she has to get up in 6 hours and go back to work.
So Joyful Joyce, yeah, let her rest.
And we're we're out of the storm now here.
We still have some rumbles going on over here, but they're nowhere
Oh,
near
no,
as
no,
bad as
you-
it was like 10 minutes ago.
Oh, trust me, you've still got more head in your way. And Thomas is on an extended leave, I take it?
Yeah, he
Yes.
said you'd be on steady leave until he can tell us otherwise.
Okay. I missed that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I will X him out of the voting. All right. And so tonight we have, of course, the news. And what news? We have the news you've all been waiting for, if you haven't already heard it. We'll have the 5-minute challenge around an hour in, give or take. We're down a few people tonight, so if we go a little later, it's a little more lax on us. We had a comment. Was this over YouTube, Bill?
Yes, it was.
By Pluto Beast, who said you guys should have more subs, and we thank you for that. We agree.
We continue to put ourselves out there. Matter of fact, actually, we should probably see if we can try and start uploading these occasionally on VidMe to see what the reaction is.
Yeah.
But either way,
since Aaron's been posting there too.
When it all boils down to is we're just a bunch of yabos that love Doctor Who and love talking about it.
And we will ramble if you'll let us.
Yes.
If you want us to have more subs, make sure share everything with your friends and
share the episodes you want to know more about and you want your friends to know more about.
Yep.
And if you have requests on stuff you want us to talk about, feel free to send it to us. We'll put it under consideration.
Mm-hmm.
It may be a while before we get to it because we already have planned through March of next year, I think.
Yeah, we tend to plan about half a year in advance, thereabouts.
Or if you hop onto Patreon and might give you special consideration.
Especially if it fits in a particular socket where we could also replace something.
Yep. All right. So, the news. We're going to start with birthdays, as we usually do.
Mm-hmm.
And we only have 2 birthdays this time, one of which is Angus McKay on the 15th of July. You might recognize him as the first Barusa, or the deadly assassin Barusa. He would
First
have been...
TV Barusa, because I think he was actually a few lives in at the time.
Well, yes. I mean, we've not seen earlier
We've not
Barusa.
seen 13 versions of him, though.
No. We've only seen 4, I think. Either way, he played the first of them that we saw. He would have been 91, but died in 2013 at 86. Next, on the 18th of July, we have the writer Paul Cornell, who turned 50. You might remember Paul Cornell as being the one that wrote Human Nature, Family of Blood.
Oh, yeah.
An adaptation of the Virgin Books BBC novel line. of which he has been very prolific in. Last year, Paul returned to television script writing an episode of CBS's Elementary. No word yet on any future projects that he has going on.
Oh, never mind.
And that's it for birthdays.
Actually, if Elementary is the one that I think it is, and I'm pretty sure it is, then it is kind of ironic mentioning it considering some of the news we have later. That's all I'm saying right now. No spoilers.
No spoilers.
Next.
Speaking of irony, Tim, take it away.
Ouch,
the
what a
irony
segue.
is that we're doing a Jago and Litefoot story tonight, and tragically and sadly, we have lost Professor Litefoot. Trevor Baxter passed away on the 16th of July, and he was 84 years old. And while he's best known for his appearance in Doctor Who and the related Big Finish materials, he has also appeared in many British shows over the ages, including Z Cars and The New Avengers.
Z Cars.
What?
They call it Z Cars in Britain.
Everyone in Britain just spit out their tea and they don't know why.
Trust me, Tim, I've done this a couple of times when talking about birthdays, and I get corrected too. So it was kind of nice to pass the buck.
So someone in Britain just sat up and went, "Bloody Wakers."
Z. Yeah, Colin Baker just sat out of bed and went, Z. Z.
Colin Baker just happened to be wearing his Sixth Doctor outfit. Nobody knows why.
He was in such
His
films
wife
as
is
Sky
like, go
Captain
back
and
to
The Road
sleep,
of Tomorrow.
Colin. Put that away.
Let Tim finish.
Sorry.
And while Trevor's cause of death is unknown at this time, commentators from Big Finish mentioned that he was dealing with a chronic illness since he began working with the company. So this wasn't entirely unexpected.
Not entirely, but it kind of crept up on him again all of a sudden.
In retrospect, this might explain why Big Finish was so rapidly cranking out Jago and Litefoot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they wanted to get as much out before one of them passed on.
Yeah, I know people in social media have been were a little surprised that Series 14 had not yet been announced, even though Series 13 was already released, and this may clue into a possible reason why.
Because he might have been too sick to work.
This, according to the Big Finish announcement, he was also a playwright. As well as,
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. I know he's done theater.
Oh yeah, you can tell by some of his acting chops.
All right. Well, from Lost Stories, we move on to episode news. Still have a little bit of episode news.
A little bit.
All
Bill,
right.
that's you.
So, yep. So that brings us to. Pretty sure I had this open. Oh, there it is. It's out of order for some reason. But the Australian final ratings for the Doctor Falls. The final ratings adds in time-shifted viewers, which added in an additional 83,000, making it the third highest time-shifted program of the day. The highest had 153,000. But that brings the Doctor Falls to a total of 543,000 viewers in the 5 major capital cities of Australia. That puts it at the 11th highest rated program of the day overall. I'm not sure about the numbers themselves, but I know the ratings in reference to other things are pretty much standard to what we've come to expect from a Doctor Who episode.
Pretty much.
All right. And here we go. Next is that Retro TV, and the America's home to the most complete version of the Classic Who library on broadcast television, has required yet more serials from Classic Who. This news comes to us from Doctor Who News. Matthew Golden, the Vice President of Programming of Retro TV, says, "We've been proud to offer the nation the biggest source of classic Doctor Who stories available on broadcast TV. And beginning this autumn, we're introducing even more. These stories, featuring the first, second, third, and fourth Doctors, are classic tales that showcase the history and quality of this seminal series at its best. These stories include the Aztecs, Meglos, Spearhead from Space, the Tomb of the Cybermen, the Seeds of Death, and the War Games."
Tasty.
Yeah. I'm a little bit annoyed by this because we don't have retro TV in this area. We're on antenna TV now. We got rid of our cable since Doctor Who season's over. And we were flipping through everything, and I was hoping we could pick up a retro TV because it says on their website that there's one in Madison. There's not. The broadcaster's in Baraboo, which is northwest of here, and it broadcasts north. So it doesn't have to pay the licensing fee for the Madison area. So God damn it, I can't get these on my TV.
I wonder how bad that price is if they don't want to broadcast in Madison.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
Seems it would be a bit silly to me if there's that much of a chunk of change that they need to make up for. Anyway.
So our next piece is on our upcoming episode, which is the Christmas special. We've got some new news from Stephen Moffat, as well as a teaser image. Like the previous one, it shows the 12th and 1st Doctors. Unlike the previous one, this actually looks to be from the episode. It's got the two of them standing back to back. I'm guessing this is early on. This David Bradley looks to be continuing the same monologue he had at the end of the previous episode, with Peter Capaldi kind of standing behind him, probably kind of like the Husbands of River song, wondering if he's going to, get the catch on and figure out who he is.
Come on, Doctor, look at this face. Look at this face, because one day you'll be shaving it.
Look into these eyes.
Moffat is... I'm thinking this is a Moffat quote. It says yes, this is Moffat. He says, "We've authentically recreated the 1st Doctor. We could put it out in black and white, and you would think he was William Hartnell." I disagree with that because we've already seen his face and his voice, and they're different enough that it should be pretty obvious, even if they're doing a very, very good job, is still going to be David Bradley.
It's his voice mostly. His face is actually pretty damn close.
His face is
I mean,
actually
there are
really
differences.
close.
Right.
But it's very passable.
Yeah.
More so even than Richard Herndl's face was.
Now this next line surprises me. He says there's new monsters, there's new Jeopardy, but what's fascinating is that the 1st Doctor confronting the superhero he's going to become with his supersized TARDIS and all that. Now what really stands out is the mention of new monsters, because if fans who have seen, the reveal of this notice that this seems to be set in the middle of the 10th planet. At least that's, all the indication that
it's not
one would
set
assume.
in the middle of
or
the 10th
toward,
planet.
By in the middle, I mean after it begins and before it ends. Not necessarily the middle.
It's basically right before the last 3 minutes.
That's what it seems
of
to be.
10th planet, yeah.
So the fact that there's new monsters, that means that seems to indicate that before the 1st Doctor regenerates, he's going to get into TARDIS with 12, who's also fighting off regeneration. So I'm not sure how that's going to work, and they're going to go run off and have an adventure somewhere else before coming back. So that will be interesting. I'm not entirely sure what he means by supersized TARDIS. Is the TARDIS much bigger now?
The modern TARDIS is
They're
bigger.
going to put David Bradley in the new TARDIS, and he's going to do that. Oh, you've redecorated, haven't you?
True, yeah.
I'm
sure he's going to... Yeah, Moffat wrote it. He's definitely going to use the line.
By the way, also Vexy poked at Randy. Randy should pay the fee for getting them the retro TV to air in Madison, and then did Kappa face, which is essentially the Twitch version of a troll face.
Yeah, I'm sure mine and my $30 I have in my bank account could cover that.
New Patreon goal.
New Patreon goal. Get us retro TV so we can watch Classic Who when we want. Help them pay the medicine bill.
All right, and since it's a segue on Bunny, the BBC has recently released Peter Capaldi's salary for how his work in the previous financial year. And this is because they have been instructed by the government to publish the salaries of all on-screen staff members who earn more than £150,000 each year as part of its 2016 charter renewal. So Peter Capaldi was paid between £200,000 and £250,000. In comparison, Chris Evans, the asshole that ruined Top Gear, topped the chart with a salary of over £2 million.
Yes.
The next highest after that is Derek Thompson from Casualty, who earned $350,000 and $400,000 in the year. Now, I can see that for Casualty. Casualty actually does pretty well in the ratings. It usually beats out Doctor Who locally.
I can understand that being a little bit higher, yeah.
Chris Evans, however, no.
Yeah,
he gets to go home.
He should learn. He should get ready to pack his bags because he's getting paid way too damn much for ruining one of their top 3 shows.
This list, by the way, only includes those working directly at the BBC and not those working on independent productions commissioned by the corporation, such as Sherlock. So you won't see what Cumberbatch makes on here. And this, by the way, just reflects the amount of BBC license fee paid the actor.
So it's not counting whatever BBC Worldwide's contribution goes to him.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so he might be getting paid more than that, depending upon how much the sales and so forth have been making stateside.
Still, that is...
It's remarkably small for one of their biggest imports.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that is the fact that Matt Smith more.
The fangirls liked Matt Smith more, yeah.
But still, we don't know if they specifically have a thing saying, okay, most of BBC or a certain amount of BBC Worldwide's money is specifically related to Doctor Who, so we're going to put the burden of the Doctor's paychecks, to a larger fraction for them than for other shows or something like that.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see next year what the 13th Doctor gets paid.
Yeah.
And speaking of which...
Segway!
Yes. Segway away! Well, if you're listening to us, there's a good chance that you already know this. But if not, you would be the first to hear from us that the 13th Doctor has been announced. And her name is Jodie Whittaker.
Yes, you heard that right. Jodie Whittaker.
Yes.
But it's 2 T's, so it's not related to the Whittaker from the 60s, sadly.
No? I'm wondering if I'm related, because I know I have Whittakers in my family line. I just don't remember if they're 1 T or 2.
Ah.
Is it the 1 T side of the family or the 2 T? I need to know.
Yes, it was announced on Sunday. Jodie Auckland Whittaker was born in 1982. So was I. And she's an English actress from Yorkshire, and most people today would know her as Beth Latimer alongside David Tennant, Alec Hardy in the ITV drama Broadchurch. And this series is also penned by incoming Doctor Who showrunner Chris Chibnall.
Now, this is a good thing that this is an actress that Chris Chibnall is familiar with.
Yes. There's some good things about this, in particular that
actually clears up probably about 40% of my concern over this, over the relatively different dynamics that would be involved here.
Because at least the two are familiar with each other, which means that they actually probably have really good shorthand since they've been working together for, 2-3 years?
3 years at least, 3 seasons of Broadchurch.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many 3 seasons of Broadchurch? I was sure it was for sure 2.
The character of Beth Latimer was the mother of the victim.
Oh, so since the first season then. Okay.
Yes. So she was in the entire run of Broadchurch. Now, I must admit I'm a bit trepidatious about this casting still.
Yeah, I'm still cautious about this.
It has nothing to do with Jodie Whittaker herself.
No.
Like I said, the fact that she's worked with Chibnall before means he will be able to know her ins and outs, where to write this and that.
Mm-hmm. And they'll
problem
know
is-
each other well enough to figure out how a doctor would work between the two of them.
Chris Chibnall's not going to be the only writer.
Mm-hmm.
What we know about Series 11 of Doctor Who is that it's almost an entirely new production. Chris wants a US-style writing bullpen,
Which could help.
which could help, but at the same time, he's putting in entirely new writers.
Mm-hmm.
So
people we've never
the quality
seen
depends
before.
on how
True.
good they can understand Doctor Who.
I guess it depends on how well he is at overseeing and making edits to the final product.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he does the editing and all the work that we bitched at Moffat for not doing, then how familiar he is with Whittaker will be a massive bonus.
Yes.
Because he'll know exactly, or not necessarily exactly, but he'll have a very good idea of how she's going to play any given line or instruction and be able to work off of it.
I will state this, that if this announcement had come in 2013 in place of Peter Capaldi, I would have been horrified.
Yes.
I would have said, oh my God, this is going to fail so hard.
Oh my God, it's Moffat, and he's literally doing his own version of fan service with Doctor Who. This is going to be the worst.
That's because Moffat had major problems writing strong female characters that were realistic. I mean, for God's sakes, look at River Song.
Mary
River
Sue of
Song.
the series.
And the weird thing is I still see people come out saying, Moffat's great at writing, women. I don't see what the problem is. And I'm like, either you're looking for a very stylized fictional version of women, or you're just not looking that closely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because he either wrote a Mary Sue or a Disney princess.
Yeah, there's not much in
basically
between.
Amy and Clara. He did a little bit better with Bill.
He did much better with Bill. I have to admit with that.
Although
he did much
I've seen
better
a
with Bill.
lot of Mary
But-
Sue accusations about her as well. And
But
at this point, I
he
think
did
people
do some
are
I
clunky
said
bits.
he did. I didn't say he did perfect with Bill.
Yeah, he didn't do
I
perfect.
said he did a bit better.
right.
Because Amy and Clara both had the there's something about blank going on with their characters. The Doctor was obsessed with them.
Yeah.
And
Meanwhile,
it
Bill
was-
is just a character that landed on the Doctor's lap, and he just went, "You're kind of interesting. Let's figure out you."
Amy and Clara could do no wrong, or at least Clara couldn't until she died. And,
Always death that trips you up.
that's a problem for making a realistic character. Characters always have flaws.
Mm-hmm.
The Doctor has many, many flaws. They're minor flaws, but they add up. And if Moffat had tried to write Jodie Whittaker, it would come off like River Song. It would be this flawless, perfect character that would have us all rolling our eyes going, oh, please.
Yeah.
It would actually almost drive the podcast to stop because we couldn't stand it.
Or it would just be non-stop lesbian gags that are not meant to go anywhere, but are just, jokes because that's how Moffat writes them.
huh?
Yeah.
Because of this
Now-
one attribute.
I'm not saying that this is what it's going to be like under Chibnall. The
Right.
problem is there are too many unknown variables at this time.
Mm-hmm.
Is Chibnall going to be a good script editor?
Right.
Is the writing staff going to be able to write a strong yet flawed female character? We don't know, 'cause we don't know who the writers are.
Are they actually going to get the finger on the pulse and actually understand Doctor Who within about a year's time and be able to
That's
pump
the
out
next
those
question.
scripts?
Writing for Doctor Who is unlike writing for any other series out there, because on any given week, you could be in the middle of any given genre, or
Yes.
a mashup of genres.
Or mashup, or just a plain simple historical, for all you know.
That's still a
and
drama.
which in and of itself is a genre
Yeah.
itself.
That
but
is
yeah,
that is considered a period drama, and that is a genre of drama.
is it going to be a period drama?
I've been
is it going to
watching
be a
a lot of
fantasy
Poldark
drama? Is
recently.
it going to be a sci-fi one? What is it to this week? Maybe a mixture of both.
Yep. We brought up Poldark a few times during our the ratings bit,
Right.
and that prompted Aaron and I to pull it up on Amazon Video and watch it, and it's a very, very good period drama. But it is just a period drama. I mean, that's all it is. So would you take a writer from a show like that, plop them down, and have them try to write Doctor Who, which is one part period, which would, in a particular episode could be one part period drama, one part sci-fi, one part suspense horror, one part supernatural, all in the same episode.
You would have to at least have them focus on the historical parts. It's the question of whether or not they could help merge into the other parts. That would be the big question.
And of
that
course,
is-
all of these issues would be present regardless of who the Doctor was.
Yes.
The difference here is that in this specific circumstance, anything that goes wrong, and since it's this new showrunner's first Doctor, it's not Chibnall's second Doctor as showrunner. He is new to the job. Anything that goes wrong, and something will go wrong, will be blamed by a portion of the fan base on the actress.
Yeah, she's going to be under a microscope.
It's going to be partially her, but I also would assume that the people who understand how acting and scripting and so forth works would also blame the production crew behind it.
But they'll most likely blame the actors.
But they'll first get angry at the actress, and then they get angry at the rest of them as they decide to channel down the line.
And by going to be under a microscope, there's definitely things that we'll be talking about soon as we go through the rest of our parts of this discussion.
Now, I wanted to say one more thing.
Okay.
They could get this right. It could be absolutely beautiful
Yeah.
coming out of the gate, and I pray to God it is.
Crossing the fingers. Knock on wood.
The problem is that right now I can't be that optimistic because there's too many. We don't know who's going to be doing shit at this point. We don't know any of the writers other than Chibnall. We don't know who the new executive producer is. Because I don't think that got in the news. The executive producer, other than Moffat.
Oh yeah, because there's usually two.
Yeah, he's also Brian Minchin.
Yeah.
Is leaving to go to the production company that makes Sherlock. So he's leaving with Moffat.
So he's leaving with Moffat, and they're going to go fix Sherlock most likely.
So it is literally like when Julie left with Russell. Only at least there they had a few of the old writers to come back on. Here, there were rumors for a while that they were folding up production in Cardiff and moving Doctor Who making to Manchester. The BBC has come in and said no, they're not, but still, a lot of the old-time crew are retiring or moving and are being replaced. So this is going to be virtually a new production.
I wonder if they're going to bring Jane Featherstone from the other executive producer from Broadchurch over, because that would be helpful. It depends on how much of the team they're bringing over, but that would be interesting if they did.
It hasn't been announced if it has, but
no, it hasn't.
But the fact that there's just so many of these levels of unknowns just leaves me with a lot of worry.
Probably not.
Just leave with lots of nervous looks around and foot tapping.
If I would have had my absolute preference, I would have preferred Capaldi to stay an additional year.
Right.
Just so that the new staff could get a season under their belts and learn their job.
And it looks like it's probably...
I was going to say really quickly that Capaldi could also be there to give input on how to help write the Doctor.
Barring that, because Capaldi himself chose to stand down, I would have preferred them to cast a more traditional Doctor this time.
Yeah.
And go for the female Doctor with the 14th Doctor. Because, they're on a 5-year plan.
Play to their strengths, yeah.
Yeah.
So that way, like 3 or 4 years down the road, they could actually replace
then you can write pretty Doctor generic.
And it looks like Featherstone is probably not coming over because it looks like she recently launched what looks like a production company or something of that nature named Sister Pictures last year. So
she might be.
Doesn't sound like she's
then.
with BBC or anything of that nature at this point. Or Broadchurch was ITV anyway, but it doesn't look like she's free.
Nope. So he
Yeah.
has to find a new exec. He has to find new
Yep.
writers, new crew, new companion. Yeah.
The fact that they picked the Doctor is nice, but there's still a huge force of issues to get through yet.
Speaking of the companion, Bill was written so that Chibnall could choose if he really wanted to bring Bill back. And honestly, given this Doctor, I'd kind of rather he didn't, because we've had a lot of companions have a crush on the Doctor before.
Yeah, we don't.
And
need
I
another
really
one
don't
right
want
off
the
bat.
first lesbian companion and the first female Doctor to be yet another one, because that's what most writers would probably end up doing, given a drama of this stature.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to see that happen right now. I'd rather not have any romantic entanglements, crushes, or any of that bullshit, at least for the first companion.
Pretty pleased with sugar on top, cross the fingers, but not giving any guarantees on that either.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Be a little bit more of a traditional companion setup, if possible, is my preference.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So we had other things here.
So,
Yep.
we have an interview with Jodie Whittaker, girl from Doctor Who News Net, where she talks about her experience auditioning. She did have to audition, so it wasn't a set in stone thing. And she says that the costume she was seen wearing in the video announcement is not
Her Doctor look.
the Doctor look. And
Yeah,
also,
I kind of figured it was just basically meant to hide her
Yeah, it
form.
was just a basic outfit to have for just introducing her as being the Doctor. It's not going to be the actual look.
and that before this was announced, her character was known as the Clooney.
I saw that.
Yep. That was the code word she used at home, in case anyone was listening. Or at least not to not get in the habit of saying the forbidden word.
Yep.
Doctor.
So, by the way, that video that the BBC that launched for this announcement has gotten over 12 billion download requests from iPlayer. It's been big. And I think that's 12 million individual requests.
Wow.
Yeah. This has been big freaking news.
I'd imagine. And as always news, we also have a lot of reactions. Voices have been voiced to this. And previous Doctors and companions have, for the most part, been positive.
Yeah, I want to know what they think of it first.
Positive. Colin Baker has tweeted, "Well, the BBC really did do the right thing and let the Doctor be in touch with her feminine side. As a father of daughters, result."
That's one of his many positive tweets about it.
Yeah, he's been very, very vocal.
Yeah, Colin has actually been very happy about this, apparently.
There was another was
and this is
and not
from
a
the
moment
man
too
who
soon.
She is the new Doctor.
Yep.
This is the man who refused to admit that he stepped down as the Doctor.
And now all of a sudden he's very happy to go,
Sylvester
hey,
McCoy
yes,
and everyone
yes,
after
she
it
can be the new
imposters.
Doctor, yes. Sylvester McCoy.
Sylvester McCoy also congratulated the actress, saying, "Congratulations, Jodie Whittaker. One small step for women, one giant leap for womankind."
Fifth Doctor.
Fifth Doctor Peter Davison has said, "It might be more helpful to be encouraging and not simply scornful of fans who are uncertain about change."
I love how I can read each of these in that Doctor's voice, and it sounds like their character.
Yeah. I've had that issue doing other stuff. We were playing a Lotro live stream, and we had to talk to Radagast for a while. And I kept reading his dialogue in my head with Sylvester McCoy's voice. So anytime I hear any Doctor Who actor or actresses, I automatically put their character voice in there.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, their doctors would say most, if not all, of these things. It's so perfectly in character, even if unintentional.
Yeah,
Oh, many doctors have played the character as themselves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So moving on a little bit, Janet Fielding, aka Tegan.
Tegan said, she tweeted, "I was zooming around in the TARDIS the year Jodie Whittaker was born. Never thought I'd ever see female Doctor. Be excited. Yippee!"
She didn't have enough characters for Very because she put them all into E's.
And Louise Jameson, who played Leela in the 1970s, added, "Congratulations to the brilliantly talented Jodie Whittaker. Fabulous that we have a female Doctor. Sweet!" Kitty Manning added, 12 actors have given their superb magic touch to creating their Doctors, and I feel 13 will be a corker. Good on you, Chris Chibnall."
Even though she forgot about John Hurt.
He doesn't count. He was only in a special.
Technically. Alex Kingston. Yep, River Song.
Kingston was being interviewed at a convention when the news was announced, and she gave a reaction live to the crowd. "Jodie Whittaker? Oh my goodness! God, I'm always the damn cradle snatcher."
God damn it! Shut up, Alex. No. You don't get to date any more doctors.
Unless we can write you better, which we could now, maybe. Maybe. We'll see how the production crew does on this one for writing.
And also, the press reaction from places like Telegraph, Variety, and Time Magazine have also been very positive. Telegraph says, "Forget naysayers insisting that the 54-year-old show's hero must be a man. Wave away cynics whining away that this is political correctness gone mad. Casting of a woman will breathe new life into the sci-fi franchise, which has recently struggled in the ratings. Making Who history is a headline-grabbing way to begin arresting that decline." Variety adds, "Coming from one of the biggest media franchises on the planet, the news that the new Doctor Who is female is huge and almost completely delightful. The fact that Jodie Whittaker has been named the 13th Doctor is cause for celebration. Not only is Whittaker a fine actor, she was fantastic in Broadchurch and Attack the Block, her casting sends a message."
I keep thinking I've heard of Attack the Block, but I can't place it.
Time Magazine has added, "For many fans, it's an exciting change that will make the show even more relatable. However, there will undoubtedly be some complaints from fans who can only envision the Doctor as a white male with a British accent. Just call it a miracle that the Doctor can still regenerate at all. In other words, as the Doctor said way back in the beginning, this is who I am, right here, right now, all right? All that counts is here and now, and this is me." Nice perspective on that.
I do have one other group of press that's not included in this article, and it's actually kind of a segue in between your two articles, which is part of why I'm mentioning now. But some outlets, instead of giving reasoned opinions and thoughts, have decided that the smart thing to do is to go through all of Jodie Whittaker's past movies and compile all of her nude photos so that fans have things to judge her for. And of course, those are the Sun and the Daily Mail, because they are giant douchebags.
Okay, fuck these news outlets.
Basically, yeah. I mean, I don't think you can call them news outlets. They're tabloids, but fuck them, and fuck
they
the
still
people who are
produce things that
supporting
talk
doing
about
that.
the news. They're still technically news outlets, but that's being very light on them.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's really all there is to say about that one, but that does segue us into the next one.
Bunch of horrible rancid people.
The types of readers that the next group of comments are coming from.
Possibly, yes. So, next one.
Yes, the Daily Mail reporter on their Twitter they've been gathering some of the more vocal comments regarding the announcement of Jodie Whittaker. And here's a tweet. What next? A female Tarzan? A Mexican Shaft? Jackie Chan's Poirot? Frank Bruno's Miss Marple? Readers aren't taking a Lady Doctor Who well.
Okay, for starters, this is one of the reasons I would not be paying for Retro TV in Madison, because I would be funding Jackie Chan's Poirot.
I want to see that.
Kickstarter that son of a bitch right now.
Yes. Jackie Chan actually has played a character who was originally French when he portrayed, it was in the movie Around the World in 80 Days.
I wouldn't mind seeing Mexican Shaft either. I mean, come on. That'd be great. Jumps into the action. Hola!
I feel like there's been something like a female Tarzan, but I can't quite place it other than, I mean, obviously you have something that's a little removed like Leela, but I think there's been something a little closer as well.
There's a Marvel character, Shauna the She-Devil.
Yes. There's also a few in some indie comics too.
That
I know, because Frank Cho drew them. Anyway, yeah, I'm sitting here. It's like, I would love Jackie Chan's Poirot. I saw a reply to this on, I think it was somewhere on Facebook, and the guy replied, "Yeah, and can we get Chris Tucker as Hastings, just so we can get that Rush Hour thing going on again?"
Oh, yes. Someone, I don't know who, but someone is spinning in their grave right now.
Now, the most vocal opponent to what is happening has been Ian Levine, known as one of the biggest, most vocal Doctor Who fans out there. He's one of the guys that spent money to try to make a animated remake of Mission to the Unknown.
He was the I forget his title name, but he was the fan, what was it, the fan information informant or some bullshit like that during the John Nathan Turner years. Basically instructed them on Easter eggs and shit to put in or something of that nature.
Something like that. Anyway, when this was reported, he absolutely lost his shit.
Yep.
He went rabid on Twitter and Facebook, just absolutely denouncing this. Like it was the worst thing ever. And I have this to say to Ian, and I have this to say to the same people that are going, this should never happen. You should never have a female as the Doctor. This isn't the first time this has even come up. As far back as Tom Baker announcing his retirement in 1981, there were press clippings speculating that the next Doctor could be a woman. Look them up. They're out there.
Mm-hmm.
In 1986, when the show went on hiatus, Sidney Newman, the man who invented Doctor Who, actually said to the BBC, you know, you should really shake up ratings by making the next Doctor a woman. He actually said that to the BBC, and this is the guy that created the show.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He's already ahead on that curve, and he was considered old when he was made the show, to be
Women
honest.
have been speculated for each Doctor pretty much from Tom Baker onwards. So this is not new. This was an eventuality. It was going
Since
to
the
happen.
80s, this has been an eventuality,
Yep.
yes.
Mm-hmm. So if you have an issue with this, too bad.
Go take
Yep.
a hike and go grow up. Just because it's
mature
going to be a
enough to
woman
watch
doesn't
this
mean
show.
anything. What we're actually worried about is how the production's going to go work, and we'll have to wait and
Is
see on that.
can they write it?
Yep.
That
Yep.
is the only limited limitation on who the Doctor should be is, can they write it?
And even if they can't write it that well, can she act better than the writing?
No, even if you have a great actor, massive writing fail will still cause issues.
Massive
Yeah.
writing fail, yes.
There are
Matt
still
Smith
people
was a
shitting
great-
on Colin Baker over his first season.
And a good chunk of that was executive meddling.
And yeah, I don't
Yes.
think any of that was his fault.
No, none
because
of that
Matt
was his
Smith,
fault.
as you can tell, he's a great person and a brilliant actor.
And Matt Smith as well.
Yeah, Matt Smith is a great actor. You can see it in little bits and pieces.
Yep.
Where they let him act
In the key moments where
But
he's
he
actually
was
free off the
hampered
reins, but then they keep hampering
by a
him, yeah.
character, by a one-dimensional characterization that didn't do him any favors.
Looking at you, Moffat. You're the decision maker on that one.
Hell, Alex Kingston, great actress, but we can't stand in most of River Song's appearances, not because of her, but because of what she was given.
Got what she was given and what she was forced to do, and it just makes us want to eat our own heads.
Mm-hmm. So, yes, writing fail is an issue. You can... Basically, a failure on any level can be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
You can have the world's greatest writer, but if your actor can't act for shit...
Then it's alright to duck.
Yes. And you can have the greatest actor in the world, but if your writer can't write for shit...
That's all going to be
it's also going to be a dead duck. Now, a great actor can take mediocre writing and make it good or great. However, if the writing is subpar, there's not much you can do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're in one of those, and I don't think this really counts for television because there's so many more people involved. I've heard of movies where the script was crap, the director and writer both knew it was crap because it was written by the director, and half the lines were ad-libbed, and they became really popular as a result.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think TV can really get away with that as easily.
There's directors that have been given shit scripts
Mm-hmm.
and talented actors that were called in either as a favor or because they were offered a
Right.
truckload of money, and the director looked at the script and said, "Okay, Jeremy Irons, choose scene.
George Lucas before he became famous.
Ryan Blessed, chew the crap out of that."
Yep.
Yeah, there's actors that are known for doing this.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of bad writing and completely refixing it, just very quickly, John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China started off as a Western fighting Dracula. Did that beast change or what? It's just that John Carpenter himself just took what the basic premises was there, which is a supernatural thing, and then reboasted it into modern, and we'll keep a touch of the mythos, but we're going to drop the whole vampire thing because that's just silly. And gradually built it into the Big Trouble in Little China.
All right.
But yeah, we should probably move on.
Yep.
Move on. The BBC has responded to complaints about the casting. And their release says, since the first Doctor regenerated back in 1966, the concept of the Doctor as a constantly evolving being has been central to the program. The continual input of fresh ideas and new voices across the cast and the writing and production teams has been key to the longevity of the series. The Doctor is an alien from the planet Gallifrey, and it has been established in the show that Time Lords can switch gender. As the controller of BBC Drama has said, Jodie is not just a talented actor, but she has a bold and brilliant vision for her Doctor. She aced it in her audition, both technically and with the powerful female life force she brings to the role. She is destined to be an utterly iconic Doctor. We hope viewers will enjoy what we have in store for the continuation of the story.
We hope.
I'll agree with comments I've seen on Twitter that the powerful female life force thing might be a little far, but
Yeah.
I appreciate the general gist.
Yeah, what that basically the BBC boils down to these fans complaining is they're basically saying, it's our show, we'll make it the way you like it. You don't like it, bugger off.
The show
I like
is
how
all about
they
change. If you don't like the change,
for
maybe you should watch a
audition.
show that doesn't change. It'll probably be dead in 5 years, but you can always watch that show.
And that she was chosen because she was the right person for the role, regardless of whether she was a male or female.
As far as we are aware, yes. She was chosen because they felt that she could do the job best.
And that's what Chibnall has been saying. That's what he was looking for when casting.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't looking for gender. He was looking for an actor that could do it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, that still leaves a good chunk of this up to the writers. Can the writers do it?
Oh, so we're ready to move on?
Yeah.
I think
believe
there's
so.
just the little announcement that we had tacked onto this piece of news.
Oh, yes. Also, we will be learning more about Jodie Whittaker in preparation for our 4th annual live podcast at Geek.Kon this Saturday, August 26, 2017. And you're free to join us for a civil discussion of the Doctor's future.
Which means if you want to talk about it intelligently, we're
Come
apt
in.
to discuss that. If you're there to go, we don't want no female doctor. No.
No. If you try to do that, Randy will sit on you.
If he doesn't try to kick you in the dick first.
Actually, as con staff, I can't do that to attendees.
But Tim's not staff, right?
Yeah, I think he's the only one that's not staff now.
Technically. Technically, Mikey and Fox aren't staff if they're there too.
They're staff.
They're gremlins. They're moles.
They're staff. They wear staff shirts.
I guess that. Yeah, I suppose.
All right. Speaking of new doctors, this is a happy segue this time.
Happy.
Chris Chibnall has just become a doctor, but not in the same way. So in addition to being the new Doctor Who showrunner, he's been given an honorary doctorate in literature by Edge Hill University.
I have no idea where the fuck Edge Hill University is.
Yeah, the article I don't think says it.
Edge Hill University. In Liverpool, in Ormskirk, Lancashire. So, way the fuck north.
Yeah. So he gave an address. I don't really see anything standing out from it. I'll read this line. He says, "I wrote Broadchurch for myself and never thought anyone would want to make it, let alone watch it. But that story has gone around the world, been remade in America and France, and turned into a novel. It led to me being offered what was, as a child, my dream job, being in charge of the TARDIS and Doctor Who. I never thought that would happen either."
Well, good luck.
Yep.
Congratulations
He
on
looks
your
very
doctorate.
happy.
Mhm.
All right.
Next.
Going from talking about Chibnall, we're going to talk a little bit about Moffat for a moment, because he sat down to a little Q&A. Actually, not sure where.
I'm sure
on
he's
the
looking
BBC
forward
America
to the
Twitter
last
field.
Doctor Who Q&A.
And he was talking about the show, what he would like to change. First, he talked about positive. He said, and I love this quote, by the way. This is an absolute great quote. He said the best thing about it is the friends he made doing the show. People he met during the course of the production of the. How long has it been? 7 years he's been on this.
Thereabouts.
The next thing he said is not entirely screwing up Day of the Doctor was very special for him. When asked about his achievements, there were many opportunities for screwing it up, and screwing things up is something I'm really good at.
At least he'll.
I love this quote. If I could get a freaking vocal thing of Moffat saying this, it would be my ringtone.
Type it up, print it out, and have him sign it.
What about a T-shirt of his face with that quote?
That too, and have him sign the T-shirt.
When asked though what he'd change is, he said he's made lots of mistakes on the show. Yes, you have.
Oh.
And the one that still gets him is there's a scene at the end of the season 5 episode called Flesh and Stone, where Amy comes on to the Doctor. It was a very good idea for a scene, a very good idea. She's been through this traumatic experience, and she doesn't quite know who or what the Doctor is. There's a brilliant scene to be written there, and I entirely avoided writing it. I played it for laughs, and it was so wrong.
That seems to be a common mistake, not just in Doctor Who, but in a lot of things nowadays. I've seen that as a very large criticism of Spider-Man Homecoming a few times. And it just
Really?
seems to be something that a lot of media nowadays is doing.
I don't know. I watched Homecoming. I didn't really find that.
I don't know. I think that's people just being nitpicky.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that is his biggest regret in making Doctor Who.
I do
just
agree
hope
that
it-
was a very mess scene.
It was a scene that poisoned Amy for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least he's man enough to admit it.
He's man enough to admit now that he's on the way out.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure if you'd asked him about this a year ago, he would have said that scene was brilliant.
Yeah. Like the troll that he is.
All right. So then we're going to talk about media releases. Tim, you have the next article.
Yes, a Tom Baker special DVD release is coming in September. From Coach Media.
Coke Media, I'm pretty sure.
Coke Media, and it's called The Doctor's The Tom Baker Years, and features 6 documentaries with the definitive set of interviews with the team of actors who brought the Tom Baker era of Doctor Who to life, and it's presented by Nicholas Briggs, voice of the Daleks, featuring quality in-depth interviews with Tom Baker, Elizabeth Sladen, Ian Marter, Louise Jameson, Mary Tam, and John Leeson. And this is a 2-disc special collector's edition that's 5 hours long, and it will give you a whole new insight into the making of Doctor Who.
Maybe they could clarify the whole thing between him and Leela
Oh, I think did
that
we
we
talk
were
about
mentioning
that?
last time. Yes.
Possibly, it might be in there.
The disc is up.
Oh, you mean about
Amazon.
Behind the scenes stuff
between
about that.
Tom
Yeah.
and Louise? Okay. When you said Leela, so I'm thinking like something in store. I'm like, what could you
No,
possibly
between
be
her
talking
and
about?
Louise Jameson.
Yeah.
Between him and Louise Jameson, between him and that Matthew Waterhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so from video we're going to books.
Yeah, and we start with books by, we actually have not had news from Candy Jar Books in a few weeks, and we're here to correct that.
Hi, Candy Jar Books.
So they've announced a third free Lethbridge Stewart short story of 2017, which will be accompanying The Daughters of Earth, and this actually looks interesting enough that I might want to check this out. The Two Brigadiers, which it actually doesn't name the second one, but I'm thinking the second one is Brigadier Bombera from Battlefield. It's 2001, and Brigadier Sir Alistair Lethbridge Stewart is feeling restless, his mind still on his recent adventure with the Doctor and Morgaine. But then there is a knock at the door, and a familiar face asks for his help in finding an old friend who has gone missing. This will be written by Jonathan Macho, who was a runner-up in a South Wales short story competition in 2015. Editor Andy Frankham-Allen mentions how he was doing a talk on writing a short story. Jonathan was in the audience, and that kind of got his attention of, I don't know, doesn't say how old the person is, but that kind of got Jonathan to his attention. They saw him, he entered the in one contest that, in which he was a runner-up, and then I guess he ended up winning the next one. There was one concern when they before they reached out to him about writing it, which was what his knowledge of Classic Who was. They say thankfully he was quote unquote one of those Uber fans that know everything. So they were able to pitch. They were able to ask him to pitch an idea for something set after Battlefield.
Good stuff.
Yep.
The writer himself says that The fact that my story is set during one of my favorite eras of Who is the icing on the proverbial cake. Just as I was trying to stay true to his character as possible, the Brig here is trying to find his feet in a life that he was meant to have left behind. Said life just so happens to involve clandestine reunions, strange happenings, and infamous monsters, of course. Who would want anything else?
Would you expect anything less?
Yep. There's also they say a mini short, so I'm guessing like a flash story, written by Andy Frankham-Allen, the editor, named When Times Change. And this is interesting because I'm kind of curious how they're planning to do it, in which Sir Alistair himself remarks upon the announcement of Jodie Whittaker as the new Doctor.
Yeah, that's going to be kind of meta.
I'm wondering, like, is this going to be an entirely meta, tongue-in-cheek thing where, the Brigadier is watching Doctor Who on telly? Or is this going to be something like the 13th Doctor walks up and introduces herself to him?
I don't know.
And that would get a huge eyebrow raise from Alistair, I'm sure.
And this is included with The Daughters of Earth, which is available to buy individually or as part of a bundle from Candy Jar Books.
All right. Well, speaking of bundles, there you go.
Yep.
Segue.
Bundle.
Our next piece is that Humble Bundle, their weekly or bi-weekly book bundle. This week is going to be Doctor Who RPG book bundle. If you pay $1 or more, you get the core rule book and a few looks like adventure guides, as well as the first Doctor source book.
Oh.
You pay $8 or more, you get the 2nd through 8th Doctor source books. And if you pay $15 or more, you get the rest of the Doctors, as well as a unit source book and Time Traveler's Companion, which I'm guessing is like a player's guide type book. And they do also mention that even if you're not interested in role-playing, there's lots of lore and other information, things like that, included in these books.
Okay, I have to see if I can find $15 now.
Okay, so here's the thing. Earlier today, I was contemplating to myself, there's this $15 Telltale thing I could get, which gets me a lot of the Telltale games I've been looking at. If I could find a group that wants to do Doctor Who, I'll buy this in a heartbeat. Right now. Anybody.
The thing is, as somebody who owns some of this, because I own the original source book.
Oh, yeah, you probably own the old school one, yeah.
Yeah, I own the old 10th Doctor one, which this is basically just a reprint of
with some
Matt
updates.
Smith with David Tennant pictures replaced by Matt Smith pictures. Thing is,
that's a Peter Capaldi.
That's Capaldi, Randy.
Oh,
I don't know which one you're looking at.
I'm sorry, I was looking at the other ones.
The Adventures.
They did a Matt Smith update. They did a Capaldi update, but it's mostly just a reprint. The system is not that good.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing solid Doctor Who, it's okay. But Bob and I tried to run a Torchwood game with it.
Oh yeah, I think you mentioned that to me once.
Yeah, it didn't work too well.
I don't even think there's a Torchwood book in here. So it might have been
there's not. There's a unit
system.
one.
There's a unit one, and that wasn't even out when we were doing this either. I have the unit book in hardcover. I still probably want to get these collector's value.
I mean, granted, these are all going to be ebooks, so there's not going to be much collector value, but there is lore and other things.
There's going to be lore. There's going to be the fact that you can hold on to this, and maybe if there's an update to the engine, you can get that, and then just go, here's all these extra resources.
You have no idea how many PDF copies of RPG books I have.
Gotcha. So okay, so
I have a small collection myself. I actually have Pathfinder books, which I actually legit bought through Humble Bundle.
I have Pathfinder books. I have Palladium books. I have PDF copies of every Cyberpunk book I own.
Which reminds me, I need to go back and get the rest of those. I need to go back and get the rest of those Pathfinder books.
I have a lot of World of Darkness books in PDF. I have crap load of PDF because it got to the point where carrying physical books, I had to get one of those rolling backpacks. Ones people use for like.
I believe it. I've seen your bookcase.
Yeah, you've seen my bookcase.
and I'm sure that you've lost or put books in storage along the way.
No,
Oh, yeah.
my end table consists of two, basically Rubbermaid bins full of gaming books. One of them is full of White Wolf books. One of them is full of D&D books. I mean, I have crap loads of RPG. But it got to the point that I'm just talking going to a game.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to take one of these.
The two-wheel suitcase.
So
yeah.
PDFs were a godsend to me
Yeah.
because that meant I could just take my laptop.
That would be cool if there was like a specialty line of Kindles specifically for like game masters.
It actually
would
comes
be
with your
awesome.
additional set of dice built into
Like
it.
that, like yeah, like something that includes like a cover that unfolds into like it has charts on the left side.
So you mean a GM screen?
Essentially.
A GM screen cover for a Kindle that's up. That's I don't know why my desktop just randomly started playing music.
I don't know.
But yeah, so a Kindle that's optimized for that use with a GM screen as built into the cover, the case.
Yeah, I think I have to see if I can buy these.
I'm very highly tempted now. Anyway, even if the mechanics might be bunk, I'd look into it anyways just to see.
Okay, so from there that takes us to our Big Finish news. And yes, we're running late.
Right, late we expected to, but yeah, we need to hurry this along.
Yeah.
So we got a release and a piece of news from Big Finish. The first piece is the release of the Short Trips Flashpoint, which is with companion to Paul McGann's Eighth Doctor, Lucy Miller. So this is Sheridan Smith coming back. The blurb is: Cerberin, the famous storm world. Seen from space, it's a spectacle of light and color that tourists draw in their thousands. Escaping an attack by gangster assassins and separated from the Doctor, Lucy Miller finds herself stranded on the surface. Killers are in pursuit, she has a child to protect, and lightning is striking all around. Then a shape approaches through the storm, moving with heavy footsteps. So this is, I think, out now. Yes, latest release. And it is available at £2.99 a download. And you can get it with the Big Finish app available for iOS or Android. And of course, you can also get it as part of the Short Trip subscription, which reduces the cost of short trips by about 2%. All right,
Yep.
And the big news that was leaked out of Big Finish, apparently, is that Big Finish has recently hired Georgia Moffat to come to Big Finish to do a series of audio ventures as Jenny, the Doctor's daughter from the episode of the same name.
Return of the Doctor's Daughter.
Yeah, if you don't remember this episode, it was 4th series, David Tennant, and actually had both, can't remember names.
Donna and Martha.
Yeah, it had Donna and Martha. I was trying to remember. Catherine Tate. And Freema Agyeman with Tennant at the time for those. So they are planning on making a series of audios with Jenny. Apparently, she is going to have a male companion, Sean Biggerstaff, the actor best known for playing Oliver Wood in the Harry Potter films, will be the new companion. And this was apparently leaked to the Radio Times by the writer. Big Finish is apparently not happy about it, but it's out there now, so we're going to report it.
Hopefully that doesn't screw up any negotiations and cause, George's agent to back out or anything. I know she's worked with Big Finish in small roles in the past.
Yep. I doubt she'll back out from that. I mean, we've been waiting to find out what happened to Jenny now since 2009, so 8 years. Moffat, of course, never did anything with it. We did mention a couple weeks ago that it was Moffat's idea that she survive, so there was hope he would do something with it, but he never did. It's one of those Moffat things that he did and then never came back to.
Looking up Oliver Wood here really quick. Because I'm not sure who that is.
He was the captain of the Quidditch team in the early seasons of the Gryffindor Quidditch team.
Okay. Okay, I see some more recent pictures of him in here too. Okay.
Sorry, I forget people aren't familiar with Harry Potter as much as I am. I don't know.
I
what
saw
that
like
says about
maybe
me.
the first 2 movies, and even then, it's been so long. I'll be lucky if I remember names.
If you remember him, he was the one, or actually, this was more of a book thing. They went to go get Wood, and Harry spent some time speculating as to whether or not Wood was a stick to beat him with, before finding out it was the Quidditch captain.
Yeah, it's in the first movie, just after he does where he rescues Neville's Remember All. He's flagged down by McGonagall, who has to go get somebody out of class, and that's Oliver Wood.
Yep.
He's also the one that actually teaches Harry in the movie how to play.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yep.
In the movie and the books.
Okay.
So he's going to be Jenny's companion, so to speak, in the Big Finish audios. So that'll be cool.
Yeah, that should be interesting. There's been a couple of Harry Potter crossovers since those movies.
Well, the Harry Potter actors, they're older now. They're branching out.
Mm-hmm.
At least 2 of them were on the list for potential doctors, the short list, including Harry Potter himself.
Which I'm not surprised at, but I'm going to expect that they're going to probably wait to see how he develops first a little bit more before picking him for a doctor.
Mm-hmm. Rupert Grint, I think, was on the list too, a.k.a. Ron.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Hermione was on there too.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would actually like to see Rupert get back into acting. He's been away for a while. I'd like to see him act first a bit.
Yeah, that would have been interesting, because that actually would have been the Ginger Doctor.
I'm finally ginger!
Yeah, that's one group of comments we didn't mention. A lot of people were like, but Jodie Whittaker's not ginger.
And I'm actually fine with...
Although we don't know. For all we know, she's going to be dyed come series 11.
That still
we really
doesn't
have
make
no
her
idea.
a ginger. Yeah. The fact is, I'm fine with people arguing on the fact that she's not ginger, because that's an ongoing Doctor thing.
That's just a Doctor joke. That's just an in-joke for fans anyways. She's still not ginger.
All right, so we've got about 45 minutes left. We had some stuff we wanted to talk to,
but we
in our
took
Geek
way
Talk
too long.
sector,
So
but
yeah,
we knew that was going to happen.
It's con season. We're going to be having stuff we want to talk about that we won't get to for the next month.
But we'll keep the list until we get through it.
Oh, God help us when San Diego Comic-Con hits.
Yeah, that's this weekend, I believe.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that this week or next week?
So next week there's going to be like all the news.
Never mind all the news from D23 and such that just happened.
Yeah, but that's not Doctor Who.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Oh yeah, Doctor Who will probably have a lot that we will be hitting.
Yes, because there's at least 2 Doctor Who panels at San Diego Comic-Con.
And that's I was Googling earlier today to figure out if Whittaker was going to be at Comic-Con, but if so, they haven't announced her.
No, I don't think so, because they had to announce the Comic-Con people attending.
And I have a feeling whatever airline they're using probably would have leaked it by now.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So
she'll be there next year, probably.
Yeah, most likely.
Okay, so 5-minute challenge.
Who were the last couple?
I did last time, because I did like the 30-second challenge.
Didn't Bill do it before you, I think?
I can't remember the last time I did it.
You did sometime recently. I forget when, though. I want to say it was before Randy, but I'm not sure.
It was one of the Cybermen ones.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like right before Randy. So it's down to me and Tim. Are you willing to take this one, Tim, or should I?
I'm always willing to do it, unless you want to do it.
Actually, Matt, I don't think you've done it for a while.
I was kind of thinking that myself as well, so I will do it. If Randy will get the stopwatch and his and mine's already up.
All right.
and then we'll give it to you next time, Tim.
Yay!
All right. So,
As long as we remember.
you ready?
Ready.
In 3, 2, 1, jam.
We open up on was apparently a tavern as we closed in on Jago, expecting company as he talks to a barmaid. Finally, Lightfoot shows up, and the two start to talk. They've talked very quickly about having other recent adventures not too long ago, but that they'd been quite busy and they haven't had doing any adventuring together since. But then a recent event came up that brought both of them together again. And the long and the short of it is that a body was brought into Lightfoot, and they thought it was most strange, and they thought it was actually a dead body. Upon closer inspection, Lightfoot actually figures out it's a dummy, a very, very realistic dummy, and he can't figure out for the life of him who made it and why. After some banter in between the two, they figure out that Lightfoot sent a message to Jago. Jago went off into the area where the dummy was found to try and further investigate. He smelt that strange. He felt that strange, like atmospheric disturbance which electricity makes, and electricity being a rare thing still this time. He tracks it down to a warehouse. Upon accidentally unplugging and then plugging something else in, he is then knocked out. Lightfoot at the same time experiences the dummy actually coming to life on his operating table, just as he was going to try and take it apart to have a look at it, and proceeds to give it chase after it through the streets. Jago wakes up in the basement with several of these dummies around him, only to find out that they think he is a doctor who is apparently a friend of theirs, but was never guaranteed to actually be seen, having seen the doctor. And upon talking, it seems that this man somehow made these physical forms that these men have taken into, and somehow their mental capacities have been switched from their normal human bodies to these fake wooden ones, as something that's a bit more durable and longer lasting than their now dead, possibly dead bodies. The escaped dummy manages to get into the basement where he finally says that Jago's not the doctor that they thought he was, and just as they're about to attack him, Lightfoot manages to toss in his lantern, which sets up most of them on fire. He then gives chase back to the warehouse where the electronic parts were found, and manages to unplug all the dummies before they could attack and kill him. They talk a few moments more and are apparently very extremely happy to be back together again, and continue to get drinks throughout the rest of the night before heading off to try and find a new jacket for Jago, whose sleeve got burnt in the fire. The end.
All right. You did that in 2 minutes and 49 seconds.
I hit about the same mark. Yay!
All right. So...
I skimped a bit, but that's the basic important stuff.
Well, I mentioned last week I skimped a bit on Talons, didn't I?
Because that's a long one.
Yeah. And we were already running behind. So, good aspects of the episode, and Bill, you are first.
Oh, okay. So it's been a long time since I've been first, I think.
That's because my dice roller doesn't like to roll ones on that initial roll. I don't know why.
But my what I liked was the little subtle bits of characterization they put in. They hadn't really gone deep, especially into Jago's character in Talons of Wang Chiang. Whereas here you get to see a little bit more. You get to see, it's made much more clear the difference in their financial status, things like that. That kind of sets up the type of relationship they'll have in the event that, and of course, coming from the future, we know that it did happen. That it spun off into its own series.
All right, Tim.
I loved the references to the old-time theater work, as in The Gaslight, and mentions of the Grand Guignol and the Theater of Cruelty. But that was just like an extra appeal for the theater fanboy in me. And the character of Henry Gordon Jago as the old-time impresario, I just loved.
All right.
So as a theater person, you found a lot to like in this.
Yep.
All right, Matt.
I like the idea that most of this story is actually told just between the two of them, and they actually get so into telling their side of the story that they even start doing voices, even in character.
All right.
And it just added to an interesting layer while keeping it very simple, which is what these companion chronicles tend to be.
All right. I liked the timing of this episode where they're telling the story from two different ends at two different scenes, relating to each other, and trying to build a timeline between them. That I really liked. All right. So, what you didn't like about the episode, Bill?
Okay, I'm going to go with kind of the format, the way the amount of breaks in between and the way that they're sitting there arguing about who goes next. And I get it, like in character, it makes sense, but it makes it a little hard to follow and, to get in, to keep track of what's going on in the story.
Okay. Would you say that was a matter of just bad execution of an idea, or?
It might be like maybe if some of the aspects of it were kind of happened a little less often, then that might have worked a little better.
Okay. Tim, how about you?
I didn't like how briefly they touched on the idea that the people in these wooden bodies can no longer eat, or I don't think they could even feel.
To some degree.
To some degree. Like, they mentioned it, but I don't think they explored it enough. That would have been
okay.
the thing.
Yeah, I think they didn't have time to explore it. Was the big deal? Was the big thing, and it wasn't really told from the perspective of the puppets, so it would have been kind of hard to. Matt.
They introduce a possible main enemy in this story, but he barely makes more than a footnote entry and then is back out of it again. Probably would have been better just to leave him out completely and just focus on the dummies.
I don't know if they were, because this was kind of a backdoor pilot.
Right.
Yeah, but they could have added more details to it later and it would have worked better. Whereas they just introduced this character out of nowhere and then just as quickly rush him back out the door and never come back again. He was very ineffectual as far as first appearance since he got spooked by police. Not exactly the most menacing villain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think my main issue with the episode is the fact that I couldn't really feel a full set of menace from animated mannequins without a visual reference. It just, I don't know, it just really didn't click to me.
I got a mental image. Maybe I'm just in more.
No, it's not the mental image. I couldn't get the feel of menace like I could if it had been a visual episode.
Like I said, maybe I just had the visuals. I don't know. Maybe it just clicked for me. I don't know.
All right.
But yeah, that
anyway.
is still a flaw for some people, probably.
Moving on to best scene. Your favorite scene, Bill?
I've been trying to think of what my favorite scene is, and I like the opening. I think that was kind of funny and kind of well done, so I guess I'll go with that for my favorite scene.
Okay. Tim?
I love the scene where Jago says to Lightfoot, "You've never acted before, have you? We'll leave it to the professionals."
All right. Matt?
I try to say that every time one of my coworkers starts singing out loud at work, and they never get it.
Yours was the better cliffhanger. Jago to Lightfoot about seeing the dummy getting up off the table.
Okay, my favorite is the ending, where Jago is forced to reluctantly admit that basically where he's been emceeing is an adult entertainment theater. And Lightfoot looks to him and says, I happen to have a very open mind. Noting that underneath that English civility, that Victorian civility, he's a dirty old man.
He can be a dirty old man once in a while too, you know. He might enjoy a show.
Okay, this takes us to least favorite scene. Wow, this goes fast when there's only 4 of us.
No
Right.
kidding, right?
Whoa.
We may have to back up and do geek talk because we'll have time.
Well,
See.
we'll fill out the hour. We'll get this
Great.
done first.
Okay.
So for my least favorite scene, I'm going to go with the extended sequence where they're arguing over who interrupted who, and he's like, and then I got hit in the head. And he's like, that's what all that was about? You got
God
hit in the
damn it,
head?
that was mine too.
Well, it would have been better if you shut
Stopped
up,
it.
you know,
If you stopped
Just-
interrupting.
right. Like, I feel like one of our bad days when we're in our news session, and I'm like, why are we going back and
Stop.
forth about this?
Stop.
Let's just move on.
Stop backpedaling.
All right, Tim.
I didn't. I can't think of a scene I didn't like because this was such a simple story that I can't think of any scenes that I didn't really dislike, so I'll pass.
Okay, Matt.
I still have to go with that supposed main bad guy. Yes, I understand there's probably going to be more build up to him later, but he just comes off as so ineffectual. And matter of fact, his description too, just this bald guy with a slightly foreign accent, just this cue ball head, and it's just like, wow, you made Charlie Brown into a threatening European man with living dummies.
Okay.
Just
I think mine was the amount of time taken on the 2 constables that brought the body in, because that just seemed to drag for me. I don't know why, but I'm just sitting here going, get on with it.
The fact that they came back actually was kind of a why they didn't find the wig the first time. What?
Yeah, it
Whatever.
was just like, yeah.
Which again combines with mine with the whole really unmenacing main villain. The entire section just could have been erased.
All right. So, wow, that was record time going through our review. Just shot through that puppy.
Right.
Final thoughts, Bill.
All right. Final thought is that this is actually probably my least favorite Jago and Lightfoot thing that I've listened to. Not to say that it's necessarily bad. The story itself has some good, it's a fairly decent story. But as Matt mentioned, Dr. Tulp is pretty useless in it. And as I mentioned, the format just really didn't sit well with me. It just kept taking me out of the story instead of letting me sink into it.
You've listened to later ones?
I've listened to all the series that are on Spotify, which I think is series 1 through 5.
Okay.
I did listen to this after listening to those because this is not on Spotify. I had to buy this separately, so I bought it during the $2.99 sale.
Okay.
But I do think. Go ahead.
Does that particular villain come back?
He's the main antagonist of the rest of the ones that we're doing, or
Okay.
not. Well, of the first series. So he's not the main antagonist of every single story, but
Okay.
he's the main thing that series 1 deals
He
with.
comes back the first season.
Okay,
of the next
so they do
stories.
deal with him
Okay.
again. It's not something they left hanging. That's all I
Yeah.
want to know is they did.
Right.
So they did
Because
revisit
that, I
him
would
and
have
probably did
really
him
marked it
better
down as
justice.
a
Yeah.
shit they left
Right.
hanging. Because I got
So
enough of that from Moffat.
Yeah.
It's basically like this is episode 0 of series 1, but it's not marketed that way.
Okay.
So yeah, it's fairly decent, but I would definitely say it's my least favorite Jago and Lightfoot thing I've experienced thus far.
Okay. Tim?
I was a bit taken aback by this episode because I thought the meeting in the bar was just going to be like a prelude to it, and it turned out to be the entire story. But once I got used to that, I thought it was an okay episode.
Okay. Matt?
The main villains weren't too bad. The head guy though needed much more development time, and hopefully they get that in the next season. Jago and Lightfoot themselves still play off each other very well, which I didn't get to talk about too much last time. Is that it's kind of funny how they became a pair, even though they barely met each other for like an episode and a half in their main story. But in this, they definitely play off each other very well, and I like the chemistry between the two of them. And also, it was a night. I felt that the enemies were at least somewhat threatening, and it was an interesting takedown of them as well. They at least know enough now how to unplug a monster that's run by electric currents, apparently.
All right. Yeah, I thought this was mediocre. Maybe a step above mediocre, but not much. I liked the way that it was concepted. I didn't like the way it was executed.
Mm-hmm.
All in all, it had a hard time keeping my attention as they kind of meandered back and forth through the story. So, okay, not great. And Aaron is more or less of the same opinion there. So we're going to ratings. Aaron gave this a 3.5. Bill, how about you?
I think I'm going to go with a 3.0 on this one.
3 flat. Tim?
I think I'm going to give it a 3 flat too.
Flat. Matt?
3.5.
0.5.
I was struggling with a 4, but I figured that maybe a notch down this one just for this one because the format was a little nifty.
Oh, god damn you guys. 2 3s, 2 3.5s. Oh, where do I put in on this? I think I'm going to give it. I thought it was a step above par, but not much. So
A step above mediocre.
Yeah, I think it doesn't get enough to get a 3.5. I'm going to go with a 3, which averages this out to about a 3.2, and yeah, that's about where I sit. So on the master sheet.
So not great, but there's some interesting ideas in there.
Yeah, had a good concept, but I don't know. I think I would have liked to see more direct action.
Which is what the Jago Litefoot series probably is.
I'm hoping.
I don't know, Bill, is it?
Guess it depends on how you define direct action. I mean, neither of these are exactly John Pertwee.
Well, we mean that like it's not them retelling the story; it's them going through the story.
Companion Chronicles in general is stories narrated by someone, so that's why this one is. Jago and Litefoot itself are full dramas. They're not narrations or audiobooks.
So it's very likely that the stories are much better done in the actual series.
Yeah, I mean, at least I personally prefer that format over the narrations format, and I think a lot of people do as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The heck?
Something fudged up.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, something fudged up. Fixing the fudge up.
Yeah.
There we go.
Found the issue.
Found the issue.
Yay.
Yeah, it was a minor fudge up. Apparently, I entered one of Tim's old scores directly into the master sheet, so it kept copying his score. Thing is, I hadn't noticed it for a couple of weeks because he keeps giving things 5.
You've caught on to my diabolical plan.
I was going to ruin all of your master sheets.
So it just said 5, 5, 5, and you were like, "This looks correct."
Yeah, it's like, why is this now a 3.6? That's not right. So at 3.2, the Mahogany murders. Mahogany. Comes in at 156 out of 207 things reviewed.
Oof.
It is on par with Time Lash, The Pandorica Opens, The Big Bang, Robot, and The Daleks' Master Plan, which, mind you, is down there because, of course, there's no exactly full episodes. It scores above The Rings of Cotton, at least for now, Cold War, Earthshock, which I'm still shocked got so low a rating, and it is below Stones of Blood, Modern Undead, Class for Tonight We Might Die, Evil of the Daleks in the Forest of the Night, Planet of the Daleks, and Vengeance of the Stones.
Sounds fair.
Yep.
Okay,
So 156. That's really all we have to say for Companion Chronicles: The Mahogany Murders. Except I will say it one more time. Mahogany.
Mahogany.
And look at that. We still have about 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, so some of those
So
other
we're
topics
gonna
we wanted to cover quick.
Step a little bit backwards. Since we have this time, we are going to go back to the Geek Talk section that we skipped earlier because we thought we were running out of time. Imagine, I've got to remember that we rocked through our review
When we're only
got
4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think the first thing that you wanted to talk about is D23, which
Okay.
is is that the Disney?
Yeah, that's Disney's. I think it's annual, but it's only really, at least in circles that I follow, it's only really become big ever since they swallowed up Marvel and Lucasfilm, because obviously those have been kind of dominating the movie industry the past few years. There was a big panel on Avengers Infinity War. They showed some footage that nobody has leaked. I have seen some analyses of it, but they introduce, I forget their name, but they're the 4 adopted children of Thanos, his version of the Horsemen. I forget what they're called. If you know his story well, you can interrupt.
No, I can't remember.
But they
I'm
they
not
were
a big Thanos person.
got you. But they were introduced. They did mention, or someone did mention, that the footage shown does include the fact that Spider-Man does have spider sense in this universe, because a lot of people have been asking about that since it wasn't really shown physically in Homecoming. It is physically shown in Infinity War.
So it does
but
have it, he
apparently
just wasn't using it in the
Yep.
Homecoming.
Apparently it picks up, or it appears to pick up directly after Thor Ragnarok. Like there's a scene that looks like they're literally back to back.
Okay.
That's really it about that. There was some stuff from The Last Jedi, but at least off the top of my I can't think of much that was important that they showed from The Last Jedi. They showed a behind the scenes reel. You see, you know, Rey training to be a Jedi and such, but there's nothing really major there that I can think of. I think that was it for that.
They're using motion
There's
capture.
probably
for Luke's
more,
hand.
but I'm not. Yeah. There's probably more that I'm not remembering because I didn't really write down any solidified notes.
Of course,
All
it's
right.
kind of like a
That's it
convention,
for
so there's people
D23.
cosplaying at the expo and everything else.
Right. And of course, there was also things on like the next Incredibles movie and such, but I don't really care about them, so I didn't really pay attention.
I'd care. I like the
All right.
Incredibles.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like the Fantastic Four, but done right.
So the next thing that came up was that Bill wanted to talk about the Game of Thrones premiere. This
Yep.
is, I believe, the first episode of the final season.
Nope. There's going to be 2 slightly shortened seasons that are basically adding up to a season and a half. But this is season 7. There will be a season 8. Both season 7 and 8 will be shorter than a normal season, but not quite a half.
Okay.
So this season, it builds. I mean, this episode mainly builds off the season 6 finale. It's kind of a hey, remember what our situation is and get hyped. Hard to describe much without spoiling either series 6 or 7.
Yeah, don't do that.
But it basically sets up the conflicts. Nothing major happens, but there are some arguments, and it's mainly there to say, these are what our conflicts are. These are not the same conflicts as season 6. At least not all of them are. This is what you should get excited about. And
Now,
that's pretty much what that episode does.
if I recall correctly, they're out of the books now, right? They're
yes,
these
sure.
two
they're
seasons,
charting
yes.
their own territory. With,
Season 6 was entirely new. I'm sure. I mean, some of it is probably the same as the book because they've talked about Martin about what will be in it. But most of season 6 was original to this show. Season 7 is pretty much starting from its entirely own point. Everything, other than the fact that they know how the final books are going to end, they're going off their own map.
makes me wonder if in 5 to 10 years we'll be getting Game of Thrones perfect.
Right? Yeah. Game of Thrones Brotherhood is what I've been saying.
Yeah.
But
Game
there
of
are,
Thrones,
I mean,
the final cut, yeah.
there are definitely subplots that are going differently because they were kind of made less important in the movie than they were in the book. So some of those are definitely going to happen differently. We just don't know how differently until the next book comes out, assuming that it's finished before Martin dies, because everyone's been asking that.
Is he not healthy?
It's not that he's not healthy.
I mean,
It's just that he's really old, and he just keeps giving everybody
he's kind
the
of
finger.
old, and I think
that.
I'm not sure if he has heart issues or if it's just assumed because of his figure. I haven't really done research.
I don't know of
into it.
any official health problems he has, but I do know people frequently worry about it, and those that keep asking him keep getting the middle finger from him.
There's
so
also the fact
he's
that
still
he's
being
been
very
writing
spry about it.
There's also the fact that he's been writing these books for 25 years. So
yeah,
it's been going on for a while, and he may not finish for another 25 years.
Well, speaking of deaths, by the way, it's been kind of a lethal week. I mean, not only did Trevor Baxter buy it, but we had, George Romero.
George Romero, yeah.
The Zombie King died.
The reason for most, if not all, of the zombie things that you currently like, if you like a zombie thing that was created since the late 60s, it probably is in part because of Romero. Just like if you like a fantasy,
just like slightly inspired by him at the very least. Yes.
Just like the fantasy things you like are partially because of Tolkien, mostly.
Yes.
Most of the zombie things you like are partially because of Romero. He kind of reinvented what that word means.
So I need to ask this question. Are they keeping a 24-hour vigil on his coffin?
I can only hope.
I mean, I guess the worst thing that happens is he gets up and goes back to the studio and finishes Ride of the Dead.
With glowing red eyes, must finish. Takes another smoke. Must finish. Takes another drink. Cut here.
Oh, yeah, we got Romero back. He's working on this. The great part is he works for Brains now.
Brains.
All right.
We also had Joan Lee, who I kind of wasn't paying much attention to this because being married to a famous person isn't necessarily, an accomplishment.
Famous.
But she also has had appearances related to Marvel. Apparently, she played Madam Web in, was it the 90s animated series, Matt?
The 90s animated series of Spider-Man. She is the voice of the version of Madam Web that I always think of when I think of that character.
It was really weird because just last week I was thinking, who we need a movie, we need a movie kind of centering around, not like giving away too much, but with a plot driven by her, Madam Web. And then I found this out. And she's also appeared in the MCU once, right?
She's appeared in the Marvel Universe. I think it was actually in one of the X-Men movies with Stan Lee as a guest cameo.
Gotcha.
I think it might have been Apocalypse, sadly, that they did a cameo together. Essentially, both of them were standing in front of their house and having a shocked reaction to something that the X-Men were doing. Or something Apocalypse was doing, one of the two.
Don't remember that.
The other big one this week.
I linked the picture.
I wasn't really familiar with the name, but I understand he's pretty big. Martin Landau, was it?
Martin Landau was a big name in the 60s and 70s for acting. He was best known as one of the main characters in Mission Impossible. Way back in the day. He wasn't Peter Graves, but he was like number 2. I think he did like the first 7 seasons, and then he was replaced by Leonard Nimoy.
But he's also done a lot of good things since then. He played Bela Lugosi in Ed Wood.
Yes, he did. He
won the Oscar for that.
He was the commander, one of the main characters in the in Space 1999.
He was one of the main bad guys in North by Northwest.
Oh yeah, so that was actually before this. Yeah, that was way back in the day.
That was like one of his first big things. That was his first breakout.
Yeah, he was a fairly big actor. I mean, he hasn't done anything big of late, but those that know the classic 50s, 60s, 70s had heard of Martin Landau.
He did Outer Limits, Twilight Zone, Man from U.N.C.L.E., Gunsmoke.
Yeah, the man has a list.
I'm trying to scoot up the more recent stuff.
He was very big on character actors.
He was in Alone in the Dark. That was a New Line Cinema movie. That was their first one before they did Elm Street. Da, 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 da.
Oh, and I think he was Drusilla's father.
Possibly.
Yes.
Alfred
Yes, that makes
Hitchcock
sense.
Presents, so he did some more stuff with Hitchcock.
Yep, it looks like it was the same one. So yes, he is Juliet Landau, known as Drusilla or as Romana III's father.
Oh, okay. Spider-Man. He played the Scorpion for the 90s cartoon series.
You know, I'm going to hate you for a while, Bill.
Why?
I did not realize that she played Romana in the Gallifrey productions.
You didn't?
No.
I've been mentioning it a lot.
Well, you might have mentioned her by name. I didn't know that she was that and Drusilla. And
Gotcha.
now that's going to be permanently connected in my brain.
Or maybe I made comments at some point and you were like, I don't get what he's saying, but I'm not going to bother.
Yeah. Now it's there.
But yeah, he was the
And
90s.
I really wish it wasn't there.
He was the 90s Scorpion for Spider-Man. And that was actually a pretty decently done Scorpion, as I recall.
Oh, man. So, Juliet Landau's also the daughter of Barbara Bain, who was basically Martin Landau's co-star in both Mission Impossible and Space 1999.
Oh.
One of those film and television career romances that apparently lasted.
For a while, yeah.
And they divorced in 1993 and were married in 57, so... Wow.
Yeah, lasted longer than a lot of marriages.
He was in the X-Files in 1998. He was in a video short called Space 1899.
Don't even want to think about it.
He was in the movie The Majestic.
I remember that movie. But yes, this guy has a huge volume of work.
He's been doing TV
been
shows
in
since
almost every
2004.
drama. Yeah, he's big in almost every genre. But he had a lot of sci-fi cred.
He has one movie that's still announced and two more that are currently in pre- and post-production.
Yeah, he was the voice of Scorpion on the animated Spider-Man in the 90s.
I just mentioned that twice, Randy.
Okay, no, I just saw that.
Yeah,
he
did
played
the
a
Scorpion.
character in The Simpsons.
Randy's head was in another place while you were saying that. He was still reacting to what I had said.
Yeah, my brain was still trying to deal with the Drusilla Romana thing. Yeah, that's gonna hit my. That's gonna be fucking with my head all night.
He was in Frankenweenie.
Which version?
2012.
Okay, the later Frankenweenie.
Yeah.
The less good one.
And I think Matt, you also had something you wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
My last minute addition there.
Yes.
Both me and Randy, I believe, have seen this now.
Okay.
Both of us have been long-term fans. So I'm also trying to get the visuals up here quick.
What is Castlevania? It's a miniseries, right?
Castlevania started out as a series of video games.
Well, I mean specifically this incarnation.
This is actually,
it's very
a
short series, just for Netflix to test the water and see if this will actually work.
Yes, it's
so it's like a pilot season.
It's a prologue series. Basically, I swear it was a 2-hour movie they chopped up into 4 episodes.
And they just wanted to use it to test the water and see if this would actually continue on from here.
So yeah, that's what a lot of TV miniseries are, like things like that. But if they're planning to do more with it, that's a little.
They are.
The reaction within 24 hours of the series release has been that it was such a huge upvote that they went, okay, we're making a series by next year, and you're getting an additional 8 episodes.
Nice. I have seen a lot of people saying, "What's this? A video game adaptation that I actually like?"
Yeah, that's the thing. And this thing has been in production now for
Off-
like a decade.
Off and on for about a decade. They've been
Yeah.
constantly clawing to get something Castlevania made for years.
So a little backstory is the fact that this originally started about 2006, 2007.
Mm-hmm.
It was then pitched to Frederator Studios. If you don't know who Frederator is, have you ever heard of a cartoon called The Fairly Odd Parents?
Yes.
Yep.
Have you ever heard of a cartoon called Adventure Time?
Yes.
Heard of it, never
So-
watched it.
Those are Frederator Productions.
Ah,
So this was kind of a different departure for what they were working on, and they were planning on making it a theatrical movie. They spent all this time getting the rights and everything. They hired Warren Ellis, who is a huge comic book writer, to write out the story for this. And then the production got stalled. And then it got stalled, and then it got stalled because they couldn't find a production company that would back it.
Yeah, they kept having to fight to get different directors as they fell out because they became busy and then come back again and so on and so forth until they just went, we don't know. We don't know if this movie's ever going to be made at this point.
And then I think it was around 2013, Netflix said, yeah, we'll back it. We'll back it if you make it a Netflix exclusive. And so production came in. They found a director. They found a very, very, very good voice cast. Okay, the main character, Trevor Belmont, is voiced by Thorin Oakenshield from the Hobbit movies.
From the live-action Hobbit movies.
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Did not realize that, did you?
No, I did not look up who the actual cast were. I just know that
Well, I had to.
some of
because
them
I
were a
heard his
little
voice.
meh at first, but you got the feeling of them pretty quickly.
Because I heard the voice and I originally was like, is that Paul McGann?
Nah.
It almost sounds like Paul McGann, but no, it's Richard Armitage. And then, let's see. Vlad Dracula, the main villain, is played by Graham McTavish, who is also from the Hobbit movies as Dwaylen.
Ah.
So you've got two actors from the Hobbit movies.
Both of them dwarves.
The Bishop, who is a sub-villain in this, is played by Matt Frewer. Everybody here remembers who Matt Frewer is, right?
Yep.
Trying to put a face to the name, it's not linking for
not
me.
familiar. Yeah, not familiar. with the name.
What is the
One voice at a time. What was that, Randy?
Max Headroom.
Oh. Interesting. As in actual Max Headroom?
Yes. Alucard is played by James Callis, who people who liked Battlestar Galactica, the new series, remember as Gaius Baltar.
Okay. The new Baltar. All
And
right.
those are the big names that are in this. And I don't know what Matt thinks, but I thought this was pretty amazing.
It took me like the first half of the second episode. We don't really actually meet Trevor until the second episode, and it took me about halfway through to kind of get, okay, that was just him trying to act drunk, and now he's actually fallen Trevor, and I'm starting to like this better. But otherwise, that was my only minor hang-up. Otherwise, the rest of this particular franchise, I sat and watched it in one night while Thunderstorm rolled outside. It was perfect. I loved this.
Yeah, it is. First of all, it is very adult in the fact that it is gory. It is action. You get to see the gothic horror feel that Castlevania has always had in its incarnations.
I like the fact that they actually delved into the backstory a bit more beforehand, especially with the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
They actually legit give a reason for Dracula to do the things that he's doing. Although he still oversteps his bounds, they give him a reason.
All
Because
right, we're
fuck these people.
at about our ending time, unless you have one or two lines to wrap up with.
If you have Netflix, if you ever played a Castlevania game anytime in your life,
If you especially
Watch
like
this.
Symphony of the Night and Castlevania 3.
I wasn't even going to put that if you like Castlevania.
If you like
Yeah, watch
Castlevania in
this.
general, but are well aware of the storyline that happens around those particular games,
That enhances it.
Yeah.
that does enhance it quite a bit, because there was definitely backstory being developed by that point, and this totally meshes with it and adds to it.
Okay.
All right. So if you enjoy listening to us and want to, follow us in this series of Jago and Lightfoot adventures, don't forget to follow us on YouTube and Twitch so that you can continue to get updates on our uploads. You can also comment below with your thoughts on, the news, the episode, whatever, and we'll talk about it. And you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter for news and updates. If you want to support us, you can head on over to patreon.com/unearthlypodcast. And that's about it.
All right. So on next week's show, we move from the Companion Chronicles basically backdoor pilot to Jago and Lightfoot's own Epimetheus range, starting with Jago and Lightfoot Series 1, The Bloodless Soldier. Written by Justin Richards and starring Christopher Benjamin as Henry Gordon Jago, the late Trevor Baxter as George Lightfoot, and Lisa Bowerman as Ellie Higson. See you next week.
All right, see you all next time.
Bye-bye.